All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Forum. Happy to have you here. I'm going to take a very short amount of time this morning. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker and associated other speakers. Joan Deming. I think many of you know Joan. Just in case some of you don't know Joan yet, she's a retired United Methodist pastor and nonprofit executive director. Through her nonprofit work, she's led 17 group tours to Israel, hopefully 18, but we'll be hearing more about that in a little bit. The focus of her tours have been meeting Palestinian Christians. This community has shrunk from 20% to about 1% of Israel-Palestine's population over the last 75 years. And we will be hearing more about the pilgrimage in just a little bit. It's my pleasure to welcome Joan Deming. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Obviously, I was hoping not to be the presenter this morning. I hoped I would be the one supporting my friend from Bethlehem, who until early this morning planned to join us. And I got a message at 7 o'clock this morning from Daoud Nassar, who is the farmer who owns the farm that we were going to hear about today. He and his family have been on this farm more than 100 years, and I'll tell you a little bit about the farm story. And then what I'm going to do instead of hearing from him is take you on kind of a virtual tour as if we were there, as if we were making the visit, because I've taken, as John said, about 16 or 17 groups there, and really was hoping to have a group of us from Plymouth there in a few weeks. And just to tell you where that trip is right now, it's a little bit in limbo. We haven't called it off yet, but we're certainly not going if it's not safe. And so we'll know a lot more in the coming days. And of course, each person who is registered for that trip will need to kind of make their own decision about how they feel. If we do end up offering the possibility to go now, then people still would obviously have the opportunity to say yes or no to going now. And it may be that none of us will now. I do want to say that if we don't go on this trip, which is scheduled, we were scheduled to be there for our first Sunday 3 weeks from today. We were going to get there 3 weeks from last night. So who knows? I just, it's a little bit hard to imagine how that can happen right now, but it's hard to understand what's going on, period. So I'm sure you all woke up to the news yesterday of the first announcement on the morning news was Israel has declared war, or Israel's Netanyahu says that Israel is at war. And today he has declared war. So I want to read to you the message I got from Daoud Nassar this morning, and then tell you a little bit about the farm. We had so Beth Moore is on Zoom with us, and at the moment she is just waiting, but she will talk a little bit more near the end of our time about the American Support Organization that she and I are both a part of, that support the farm, the Tent of Nations farm in Bethlehem. Just a little context before I read Daoud's message. The farm that he farms and is spokesperson for, that his family farms, is located just 5 or 6 miles outside of Bethlehem. And Bethlehem is just south of Jerusalem. So it's part of the West Bank. And it is in the section of the West Bank that is designated by the Oslo Accords as Area C. Area C is 60% of the West Bank. And the three divisions, A, B, and C, refer to who has authority in each area. And so in Area A, which is just the major cities, it's Bethlehem, Nablus, Hebron, Jenin, Jericho. Those cities are Area A, and in theory, the Palestinian Authority has civil and military authority in those places. In point of fact, Israel can override that at any time that they want to. In Area B, the small villages around the West Bank, Israel or the Palestinian Authority has civil control. So they do education, they do healthcare, they provide local services, but all security and military control is held by Israel in Area B. And then 60% of the West Bank is Area C. And Israel has full civil and military control over this area. So the farm is located in Area C, which means that they have no authority unless Israel gives it to them. The farm was purchased by Daoud's grandfather in 1916 under the Ottoman era, even before before Britain took over, and it has been owned by the family. They've lived on the farm, they've farmed it, they have continued to keep the registration of the farm active with whichever government was in charge at the time. So it started under the Ottomans, but then they registered it under the British, under the Jordanians, and now they're trying to register it under Israeli law. In 1991, Israel declared the farm to be state land, to be Israeli state land. They declared that it had been abandoned and therefore Israel could take it over. So the family, the Nassar family, could prove that they had been there and that they had the paperwork to show their ownership and that they had continually farmed for the entire time of their family's ownership. And so they appealed in court, and they have now been in a legal appeal process for 32 years. And it's cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. And it's still an ongoing legal process. The next hearing for Israel to hear more testimony about the ownership of the land is set for December 6th. And there is a group of many people around the United States and across the world who have visited the farm and have heard the story of their efforts to keep the farm and have worked to try to support them in any way they can. So the hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees have mainly come from contributors who care about it. If any of you would like to get on the mailing list in order to be informed about what happens with the Tent of Nations farm, the QR code that I have hanging here, I have one over on the table, will get you to a sign-up sheet so that you can, or a sign-up form, so you can be added to that list of supporters. In the early 2000s, the family decided that in their legal process, they wanted to turn the farm into a center for building international friendships and awareness of sustainability, and a place where people could come to hear about nonviolent resistance to the situation that they're dealing with with their farm, but symbolically what Palestinians are dealing with, and symbolically also what Christians are dealing with, and having been minimized so completely in the course of the recent history. So they developed a motto that is, we refuse to hate, we refuse to be enemies. And they began inviting international visitors. And over the years, about 10 to 11,000 international visitors a year have been visiting the farm. So what I'd like to do this morning is share Daoud's message. And then there's a 12-minute video that we were going to share with you that he and his family developed a couple of years ago that we will still get to see. And then I will take you on a virtual tour of the farm. So that's our plan for today. So what did I say I would do first? His message. He wrote this at 7 this morning. Dear Joan, I am trying to get to the farm. All roads out of Bethlehem are. The volunteers left the farm yesterday. No one is there right now. What that means is that it's open to settlers potentially coming onto the farm and establishing themselves there. And that's a horrible fear. He says, I want to apologize. I can't be with you today. I always try to encourage people through our message of hope, but I am not able to do that today. I am really very sorry. I think it would be great if you could could show the pictures you pulled together. And then he says, our path for justice is too long, but we should continue the journey. Thank you, Joan. Please pass my greetings to all the participants with big thanks for keeping us in their thoughts and prayers. I am still hoping you would be able to travel and be with us soon. Blessings, Daoud. So let's watch. This is Daoud, and this is the farm.
So we are at the Nassar's family farm that is located southwest of Bethlehem, about 6 miles. And we are on the hilltop, about 950 meters high above sea level, 3,000 feet. And our land is surrounded now by 5 Israeli Jewish settlements that are growing to become like small towns and cities. Now the land was bought by my family more than 100 years ago, and when the family bought the land, they did 2 unusual things. The first thing they did, they registered the land, so we have documents. And the other thing, they moved from Bethlehem and they lived on the farm in a cave.
One of the caves we have on the land. We have 8 caves on the property. This cave of the family where the family lived, I grew up in this cave where my father and my mother, the whole family, were working, slept the night in this cave and working through the day on the land. We have different kind of plants. We have olives, we have grapes, we have figs, apple, apricot, almonds. Through my life, I have been learning what does the land mean for us. It's like a mother. So I grew up in this mentality that we have always to be strongly connected to the land and not leave the land.
So my father and uncle came to this farm as children. They grew up in the cave, and then they continued the work until they passed away. My father died in 1976 and my uncle died in 1987. So all their years were living under occupation, Ottomans, English, and so on. And their hope was one day to establish something positive out of their land, out of their farm. In 1991, the Israeli authorities declared our farm as state land. We went to the military court to prove ownership, and in 2002 we brought this case to the highest court in Israel, the Supreme Court, and the case is still in the court until today. So more than 30 years in a legal battle with a big financial burden, but the positive outcome, we are still here and we did not lose any part of the land, which makes it probably one of the unique cases that are still in court since 1991. Parallel to the legal battle, Israeli settlers tried with physical pressure to move us out. So they started attacking us here, cutting our trees, damaging our water tanks, threatening us with guns. And one of the big destructions we had in 2002, olive trees were destroyed, and one also in 2014 by the military when they came to the valley and destroyed hundreds of fruit trees 10 days before the apricot harvest. We did not stop there. It was very painful, but we managed to repair the terraces and we planted new trees. It was a sign of hope to see many people from different countries coming together to plant the trees of hope on our farm. So with physical pressure, we did not give up. We are still here. In that difficult situation, what to do? Should we sit down and cry and wait for somebody to help? Should we react violently or should we leave? We said to ourselves, none of those options are good. We started the fourth way, a non-violent way of resistance, after saying we refuse to be victims, we refuse to hate, and we are acting based on our faith, and we are people who believe in justice. So with those four principles, we walked on a different path, and we created here a non-violent way of resistance, and we started the Tent of Nations. The Tent of Nations as a place, as a way to invest our frustration positively and to create out of this difficult and negative story something positive that will help us to maintain our positive spirit, but also to encourage more people. So of course on this farm, which is located on what is so-called Area C under Israeli military control, we have no access to running water, no electricity, and no building permit. And by the way, we have more than 20 demolition orders for structures, including tents. So what to do in solving this issue? We said nothing is impossible. So for electricity, we installed a solar power system. For water, we are depending on rainwater collected in systems. And since we are not allowed to build on the ground, we started renovating existing caves, and we started to think in a different way. And also we started to recycle the gray water to be used for irrigation. We have also compost toilets, and the plan and the hope is that to show that things are possible. Even in a difficult situation, we are able to make a difference. So with the Tent of Nations, we started to say what we received, we wanted to give to other people. That's why we opened the farm for people to come and see, and then go back home motivated to tell our story, but also to become peacemakers in their own communities. So we do every year between January and March a tree planting campaign. We invite people to sponsor trees, to plant trees, because when we plant a tree, we believe in the future, we make the land productive, but also we learn that peace should grow from the ground and up like an olive tree. We have children's summer camps, and the idea is to do a summer camp with about 50 kids from Bethlehem area, from refugee camps, who are living in a closed area behind walls and concrete walls, of course. So the idea is like to bring them out of their situation and to connect them with the land, but also to educate them that you are able to make a difference. We want to encourage them to stand up and play a role in shaping their societies. So we focus on creative workshops like paintings, music, theater, mosaic, and again, it's about investing hope in those children. We have other camps like the wheat harvest in May, the apricot harvest in June, the almond harvest in July, the grape harvest in August, and in September the fig harvest. End of October we end up with the olive harvest. So we have always international volunteers for short and long term. Of course, since March 2020 we do not have any international presence, including volunteers here, because of the corona crisis. And we hope that people will start to come soon, because it is very difficult to see the farm without international presence. International presence was and still very helpful. Because of the international presence here, the attacks from settlers stopped in 2002, since we started to have international volunteers and presence here. So we want also the volunteers to go back home motivated to do something positive with their lives, but also to become a peacemaker in their own communities. So our journey continues. Of course, we have a long struggle, a legal struggle. We have difficulties on the ground, and also recently, but we need to move forward and not to look backwards. The suffering is not the end of the story. We need to continue our journey and our struggle for justice, always with faith, with love and hope.
In 2021, and it was still under COVID. They since have been able to open up again, and I was able to take a group to visit the farm last fall, and they are having volunteers again there. Alex, if we could move to my PowerPoint now, that'd be great. So Daoud is one of the younger, I think he might be the second youngest of 9 children in their family. He and his older brother and sister still actively are at the farm every day. They live in Bethlehem. They make sure somebody stays on the farm every night, except for right now, nobody's there. The farm is surrounded by settlements, and I put these maps up so that I could show you approximately where the farm is. The farm is in 5 access. So when he says that he couldn't get there today, he really couldn't get there today. This is a drawing that shows the farm surrounded by the settlements. Everything with a red roof is settlement. And the trees in the center are the farm. There are 5 settlements surrounding the farm. The farm is about 100 acres. It is probably the largest contiguous piece of agricultural land left in the West Bank. And that's because they've had this disagreement going with the Israeli government the whole time. But just as an example, one of the villages, Nahalin, is near the bottom. Nahalin has about 7,000 Palestinian people living in it. It's an ancient Palestinian village, Muslim and Christian. And Beitar Elite has been growing rapidly. I'll show you some pictures in a little while of what they look like as side by side. But Beitar Elite, the population has gone, since I've been going there, from about 50,000 to about 67,000 compared to the 7,000 in the little Palestinian village that so they really want this farm. They really want this hilltop for more settlement. This is, you already saw, this is the kind of land that the farm is built on. It's very hilly. In order to farm on it, they have to build terraces. The terraces have been cared for since biblical times. This is Daoud on the right. And on the left is Usama Nicola, who will be our guide whenever we get to go. Usama is our best friend there. And he's the one who has taken me to the farm every time I've gone. So when you get to the farm, your bus can drive off of the main road, Highway 60, that goes from Nazareth all the way down into way southern Israel. But when you come in on the road toward Nahalin, there's this dump of rocks that's been loaded across the road since about the early 2000s. And Israel dumped all this dirt and rocky stuff there in order to keep people from getting to the farm. So buses can come this far, and then you have to walk over the roadblock. And so we help each other over the roadblock. And we walk the last quarter mile into the farm. Israel also has not permitted them to repair the road. So as it degrades over 20 years, it's just dirt in a lot of places. So this is approaching the entrance to the farm. You can see a group that, so I'm taking you now on our walk into the farm and our visit to it. This is the old gate to the farm. They've had to replace it with a more secure fence or a more secure opening so that they can control a little bit better who has access to get in. But here we're invited in. When we get in, one of the first things we'll see is this rock that has the theme of the farm. We refuse to be enemies. It's there in English, Arabic, and German. And here it is in French. Fight violence with love is another sign that's been prepared by some of the children from the summer camp. When we walk into the farm, we'll come to this building that is one of the buildings that the family lives in when they're there. The main kitchen is there, and there's an outdoor dining area. So that's where they've prepared lunch for us, and we're going to have lunch. This is the side of the building, and I wanted to point it or to show this just to show you the water tanks on top of the building. The water is pumped up into those tanks from the cisterns, and then from there they're able to use it as running water into the faucets in the building. The farm has no access to its own public service electricity or water, so the only way they have water is by collecting rainwater in the cisterns. The only way they have electricity is the solar panels. This is lunch. It's been prepared by the family for us. One of the groups I took, and another, actually a different group I took, having lunch. And this is Milad. This is Daoud's mother. She is the matriarch of the family. And her husband died in 1987, but she still is there almost every day. She's, I believe, in her early 80s. Yeah. The first time I went there was in 2012. And the last time I went there was last year. And if things went according to plan, we would be there on November 1st. With 25 of us from Plymouth. That is up in the air. This is Daoud, of course. That's Daher on the left with me. Daher is the oldest son, and he's the most active farmer, and just a wonderful spirit and presence. This is Amal. She's a nurse. She works in Bethlehem in a hospital, and she comes back out to the farm and does a lot of work with the family there too. She's the oldest sister. After lunch, we have to find the toilets, of course. And because there's no running water, they're one step up from outhouses, but they're kind of outhouses, but they're compost toilets. And so there's the sign that you can see the toilet on the left with the door open. There are 3 of them. And in this next picture, whoops, you can see that the settlement is just up on the hill right beyond it. That's how close it is. So here we're looking at cisterns, John.
The settlements have water.
Oh yeah, the settlements have running water, electricity, swimming pools, lawns. Yeah, and they don't need water tanks on their roof either because they just turn on the tap and it comes. They're all Israeli settlements, and under international law, they're considered illegal. Israel has sanctioned the building of all of these settlements, though, against international law. So looking into the cisterns, the solar panels, sustainability is really important. So this is one of the caves that they've renovated in order to use today. It's the meeting cave. And if we are going there, we're going to find our seats inside, and then Daoud is going to speak with us. So he'll tell us the story that basically you heard in the film. Then Daher is the one in front here. He's going to take us on a tour of the farm. Again, you can see how close the settlement is. Here, and he'll take us to the family cave. This is the cave that actually these children were raised in. And there are demolition orders on every one of these things, the caves and the buildings. Probably the only reason that they haven't been actually demolished is because of the international awareness and presence. So our awareness and our involvement in supporting them is really crucial to them continuing to have the farm. This is Daher with a group of us in the cave. This shows again settlements nearby from the farm, looking out how close they are. This is the settlement of Neve Daniel. I took this picture in 2014. In 2018, I took the same picture, and there's now a yeshiva, an ultra-Orthodox high school for boys that is built between the farm and Neve Daniel. And these are the extreme settlers who send their children to this school. So it makes it an even more dangerous situation for the farm. This is Nahalin in the front of this picture closer to us, and that's Beitar Elite with its 67,000 residents right behind it. You can see in the far distance another settlement, that all the white in the far distance. Olive picking is done largely by volunteers, and had we been able to go, this is part of what we would have done. It's olive harvest season right now, so this is one more reason this is a terrible time for Palestinians to be dealing with conflict. You'll recognize the guy in the tree there. That's Don. And this is summer camp. So just I'm closing with a couple of pictures of programs that they do. In 2017, the farm was awarded the International Methodist Peace Prize, World Methodist Peace Prize. And in 2018, there was a ceremony at the farm to award it. And one of the previous honorees with that prize was Father Ilyas Shakur, Archbishop of the Melkite Church in Israel and Palestine. And for next week's program, I'm going to share his story. So, but he was there to help celebrate the giving of the honor to the farm. And this, I think, is my last picture, but this is Ban Ki-moon and Mary Robinson from the elders, Mary Robinson from Northern Ireland, and Ban Ki-moon from the United Nations. They made a visit this summer. And just to mention them, to say that this is one more sign that the farm is on the international scene. There is awareness of it. There is support for it. Our State Department has also sent people to visit there, and they have tried to have representatives from the State Department go with Daoud to the hearings with the Israeli government. So far, they've not been allowed. The Americans have been prevented from going into those sessions, but the interest is strong. It makes a difference if we let our legislators know that we know about the farm and that we want them to advocate for this family to keep its ownership and to be recognized as owners. And so if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you'll get information about that. One last sign, the Tent of Nations, people building bridges. One more motto that they associate them with themselves. Okay, thanks, Alex. Yeah, these people, so Sue's asking if they're Christian. They are Lutheran. Bethlehem has a Christmas Lutheran Church, and they are active members of that church. And so 3 weeks from today, we were going to go to church there. Who knows if we will or not? And they will be there if we're there. They'll be there even if we're not there. Yeah, yeah.
That you're not allowed to build anything currently? Oh, sorry. In the video, he referenced not being allowed to build on the land. And so that's one reason why they're renovating the caves. Can you explain that?
Israel has just not allowed any building of Palestinian structures on, I mean, building requires a building permit. And because Israel has full civil control in this area, they control building permits. And so even though people apply for, and this is not true only for this family, it's true for almost any Palestinian. If 99% of building permit applications are denied in the West Bank. Bill? The source of water for the settlements is underground water. There are generous aquifers under the West Bank. And Israel has, pipes it out the same way we get groundwater for our use. It comes through pipes. It's controlled by the Israeli water municipality, and they get as much as they want. So water is a major issue in the West Bank. And, this farm in a way gives us an opportunity to see under a microscope what the larger issues are for many of the people. I do want to mention that the farm has a support group, Friends of Tent of Nations North America. And Beth Moore and I are both members of the steering committee of that. It's like the board of directors. And Beth is online and would like to tell you a little bit more about Fotana. So could we bring her up? And Beth, we look forward to hearing from you. Is she still there?
I'm there.
Okay.
I need permission to start my video, however.
Well, why don't you talk and
okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll work on the video, but you can talk.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Joan. I'm in La Crosse, Wisconsin, as Joan has mentioned, we're both part of Friends of Tent of Nations, or Fotana, which is a small group of individuals in the U.S. who support the work of Tent of Nations. And Fotana came into being in 2007, started by Quaker, a Jew, and a Presbyterian who had been to the farm and returned to the United States and indicated that this indeed was a situation, a cause worth supporting. So we are engaged in that support in a variety of ways. One is through education, sessions like this one. Sometimes Daoud is able to be in person. He has and would come to the U.S. and speak in churches and synagogues and universities. And over the years, we've been in 500 different venues and spoken to probably 4,000 or 5,000 people, sharing the story. It's such an important part of Daoud's ministry and his work, to share the story of possibility, of what it means to live in faith, hope, and love in the situation they're in, but as he said, encouraging others to find their ways to support peace in their own communities. In addition, Joan has mentioned our advocacy work. Certainly over the last 4 or 5 years in particular, we've done a lot more of that. Sometimes again in person, when Daoud comes to the U.S., he'll meet with the staff of congressional representatives. And particularly right now, with this process of, it's actually a re-registration of their land. As Joan mentioned, the land has been registered under previous rulers of the land, if you will. And it's something that's required by the Israelis, Palestinians who own land in Area C. And so this re-registration battle has been going on since 1991 and has reached a really important stage. And so we've been particularly engaged with local communities and constituent groups. Joan is part of a constituent group in your area that has met with a variety of legislative staffers to advocate for Tent of Nations and to bring it to awareness, to share the story and request that our legislative personnel be in touch with the State Department, express our awareness and our concern, and to ask them to be involved. And this has indeed brought results. So this advocacy work is also another part of our work. And then just support. Daoud is always first to say when asked, how can we support you? That his first response is to pray for them, to keep them in our hearts, and to send our love in that way. and then to come and visit. It's so great that there will be a group from your congregation going to make that trip. To come and visit and return to tell the story, to their story. And then to volunteer, as was mentioned, is another piece. So those are the ways that we support. And yes, please take Joan's invitation to sign up for our newsletter, which comes generally 4 times a year and keeps you up to date. Or if there's a particular alert or request that we have of you to contact your legislator, it would come through that venue as well. So for me, I am just particularly struck again and again by the power of stories and the firsthand accounts which come from people going to see and returning to tell. That happened for me first in 2013. And you never know where the journey will lead, do we? But it's so important that we go, that we see, that we tell, and we come back and share that experience. As Eddie Daoud, an African-American writer and activist, says, our task remains the same, no matter the difficulty or the magnitude of the challenge. Some of us must become poets, but we all must bear witness. Thanks so much, Joan, for bringing this opportunity to Plymouth.
Thank you, Beth. I think it's like 1 minute before, so I guess we close for now, John, and
Do we have a round of applause for it? And if you want to hear more, come back next week. Joan will be telling us about stories of peacemaker leaders from both sides of the 1948 Green Line, working to build bridges and work for a just peace for all people who share the land we call holy. So please join us next week. Thanks so much for coming.